Kyle Pitts on the radar, Mike Vrabel hammering consistency in the run game, Josh McDaniels getting new pieces, and the offensive line already being treated like tomorrow's problem that has to be solved today. That's not random movement. That's Foxborough working multiple fronts because the Patriots understand one thing. If they want to raise this team's ceiling with Drake Maye, they cannot miss on these decisions. And that's why this video matters. There's rumor here, but there's real signal too. There's a market starting to open, and there's a major decision taking shape right in front of us. So hit like, subscribe, and stay with me, because today we're sorting out what's noise, what's real, and whether New England is actually moving like a team with title ambitions. The first wound here is obvious. If Kyle Pitts is already being tied to the Patriots, that's not by accident. It's happening because New England is still looking around Drake Maye and seeing a hole it can't ignore. Stephon Diggs' departure only sharpened that feeling. This offense needs a weapon. It needs juice. It needs somebody who changes the way defenses line up against it. And when a young second-team All-Pro pops up as a possible trade target, the message is clear. Foxborough knows it can't keep trying to build a real offense on patchwork. The key here is separating fact from desire. Fact: outside analysis named Kyle Pitts one of the best possible fits for the Patriots. Also fact: Atlanta tagged him for 2026, but they can still listen if the price is right. Bigger fact: the Patriots have the cap space to take on that kind of move without putting themselves in a financial crunch. That part is real. After that, you move into interpretation. And my read is simple. If the fit makes this much sense on paper, it's because the structural issue in this offense is real too. Just look at the situation. Hunter Henry is still useful, still dependable, but he's heading into a contract year at 32. That matters. This isn't about disrespecting Henry. It's the opposite. It's about looking at the roster timeline like a serious team. If Drake Maye is the face of the project, then the Patriots have to think beyond the target for this season and start thinking about the running mate for the next few years. That's where Pitts becomes more than a flashy rumor. He becomes a succession plan, an explosive athlete, and an immediate mismatch inside a system Josh McDaniels knows how to feature. And that matters. McDaniels with two dangerous tight ends isn't just a fun chalkboard idea. It's a real problem for defenses. You force linebackers into space. You create conflict against nickel. You stress the middle of the field. You help your quarterback before the snap even happens. Pitts next to Hunter Henry could change the shape of this offense. I'm not saying the trade is happening, because nobody has confirmed that. But I am saying this: if New England is seriously looking at that path, then internally the franchise is admitting Drake Maye's development needs to be accelerated now, not at some comfortable point down the road. That's the first real wound. The Patriots may like parts of what they've built, but they clearly don't believe they've built enough yet. When a name like Kyle Pitts starts making sense in Foxborough, that's not just opportunity. That's the pressure of a franchise that knows the window is open, but still incomplete. Now we get to a market opportunity that has to be handled carefully, because not every possible change deserves to become a priority. There's been more talk lately about the Patriots bringing in competition for Bryce Behringer, with names like Brett Thorson and Ryan Eckley coming up as possible options. And I get it. Behringer had a solid regular season, but his playoff performance dipped in a way that gets your attention. The average dropped. The field position impact wasn't the same. And in the postseason, that stuff matters more than people want to admit. For a team trying to climb another tier, special teams is not some side note. It never has been in New England. Jeremy Springer got an extension for a reason. Brendan Schooler still matters for a reason. This franchise has always treated that phase of the game like serious business. But there's an important line here. One thing is acknowledging Behringer's drop-off. Another is treating Punter like a draft priority over more important parts of the roster. Brett Thorson has a real case. He won the Ray Guy Award. He's been consistent. He has the resume. And yes, he could absolutely come into the league and push for that job. That's not fantasy. Ryan Eckley also makes sense as an interesting name because of his production and volume. So the signal is there. The Patriots can absolutely look at this market and think about real competition. The issue is the cost. Because where New England is right now, the pressure isn't just about finding a technical fix. It's about moving the team forward in ways that actually raise the ceiling. Another weapon for the offense: protection, line depth, more support for Drake Maye, more room for error in January. All of that still matters more. That's why, to me, the smart path looks different. If the competition comes with a late pick, fine. If it comes through the UDFA route, even better. Then you test it, apply pressure, raise the standard, and you don't burn valuable resources at a spot that still shouldn't be driving the larger plan. Real contenders do that. They address a weak point without losing sight of what matters most, because the Patriots need to strengthen the roster, not just polish one detail. And when Foxborough gets into a cycle of major decisions, overspending in the wrong place becomes a mistake too. But this is where the conversation really takes off, because the Patriots aren't just looking at a skill player or a minor roster tweak. They're touching the area that separates a good team from one that can survive January: physical identity. Mike Vrabel's comments about the run game were not just throwaway coach speak. When he says he wants more consistency, he's not complaining about raw production, because the 2025 numbers were strong. The Patriots ran the ball well, scored on the ground, and finished near the top of the league in volume and overall efficiency. But Vrabel let the part that really matters slip out. When the team needed to run it, it didn't always impose its will. And for a team thinking about a title, that is a warning sign. Because the regular season lets you get away with isolated explosive plays. The postseason demands repetition, control, and a physical answer. And that's why the arrival of Reggie Gilliam, along with names like Elijah Vera Tucker and Julian Hill, doesn't feel like a minor roster move. It feels like a message. It feels like New England trying to rebuild the foundation of an offense that still wants to be dangerous through Drake Maye's arm, but not so dependent on dropback after dropback when games tighten up. Josh McDaniels knows that formula. He knows what a true fullback can do. He knows what physicality does to tired fronts. He knows how that kind of piece changes down, distance, and the rhythm of a game. What stands out to me most is how cleanly the message lines up. Vrabel talks about consistency. Gilliam shows up talking about a vicious style, physicality, force, presence. The entire building feels like it's leaning the same way. That doesn't feel accidental. That feels like philosophy. It feels like a Patriots team that understands that truly protecting Drake Maye isn't just about giving him another target. It's about giving him structure, giving him solid footing, letting him operate with less chaos, fewer long third downs, and less predictable football in January. And that's where this video's thesis gets sharper. This isn't just about adding talent. It's about building a team that is less fragile in the moments that decide a season. When Vrabel talks about how hard it is to live on pure drop-back passing in the last game of the year, he's basically admitting where the scar still is. The Patriots felt what was missing when the field got tight. They felt that their offensive identity still wasn't ready to carry real championship hopes all the way through. So to me, this is where the pressure truly escalates. If Foxborough is investing in more physicality in the backfield, on the line, and in the details of the system, it's because the internal message has already been delivered. This team doesn't want to be just exciting. It wants to be tough, dependable, and built to survive when January turns into a fight. Now here comes the contrast, and it stings, because while the Patriots try to raise the ceiling of the offense and harden their identity, there's an important asset on this roster that already comes with an expiration date. I'm talking about right tackle. Morgan Moses played well, especially in the playoffs. That needs to be said. He didn't become an immediate problem. He didn't become a hole. He didn't become some desperate emergency. But the NFL punishes teams that wait for the drop-off to happen before they react. Moses is heading into his age 35 season, and the contract structure leaves 2027 wide open. In other words, the Patriots could be 1 year away from staring at a major hole at one of the most expensive and delicate positions on the roster. And the strongest signal here is that Foxborough seems to understand that before the emergency fully arrives. When Maxi Hennekor's name starts climbing, when there's real smoke around a tackle in the first round, when Vrabel's workout gets attention, that stops looking like basic due diligence. It starts sounding like early protection of the project. This isn't about flash. This isn't about making a pick for headlines. This is structural insurance for a team that knows that if it wants to contend at a high level with Drake Maye, it cannot let the right side of the line turn into a patch job a few months from now. And I think that's one of the most mature signals coming out of the Patriots right now. A franchise under window pressure makes mistakes when it only thinks about instant shine. Maybe New England is doing the opposite here. Maybe it's looking at a need that hasn't fully started bleeding yet, precisely so it doesn't get blindsided later. That's contender vision. That's urgency without recklessness. Now, of course, there's uncertainty. Nothing guarantees the Patriots will actually go tackle early. Nothing guarantees Iheanacho will still be there at 31. And it's also fair to say there's a real drop-off in talent if the team waits too long in this class. But the signal is there, and it connects to everything we've talked about so far. Foxborough is trying to build around Drake Maye from every angle before the bill comes due. Patriots Nation, give me the honest read. If you were in that war room, Would you spend a first-round pick on a tackle to protect tomorrow? Or would you push harder for an offensive weapon to solve today? Because that choice says a lot about the kind of contender New England wants to be. In the end, the feeling you're left with is heavy and exciting at the same time. The Patriots are operating like a franchise that feels the pressure of its own window. Kyle Pitts shows up as a sign that Drake Maye still needs more firepower around him. The punter conversation shows that not every adjustment deserves to steal resources from the bigger decisions. Vrabel and the run game make it clear that New England wants to get tougher as the calendar tightens. And the right tackle debate proves Foxborough is trying to protect the present without giving up on the future. That doesn't mean all of this is going to happen. It doesn't mean every rumor turns into a move, but it does mean one very important thing. The signals are alive, and they point to a Patriots team that doesn't just want to compete the right way. It wants to look like a January team again. If this read hits for you, subscribe to the channel and drop your take in the comments. Which one of these decisions is the most urgent if New England wants to push all the way into contender status? Because at the end of the day, this space belongs to everybody in Patriots Nation.